You know, most of us feel like we've got a pretty good handle on planet Earth. But what if I told you the map in your head is wrong? That the shape isn't what you think, and that the hottest place on Earth is also the coldest? Well, let's peel back the layers and uncover some of our planet's most astonishing secrets.
So let's start with a question that just might change how you see everything. That map of the world you probably have pictured in your mind, the one that was on your classroom wall, what if it's been lying to you this whole time?
And that question leads us right into our first big idea: how we actually picture our own planet. We're going to start by unpacking why those maps we all know are so flawed, and then we'll get into Earth's actual and kind of strange, true shape.
Okay, so this is the map most of us think of as the world map. It's called the Mercator projection. It was actually designed way back in the 16th century for one very specific purpose: sailing. It's fantastic for keeping the shapes of continents right for navigators, but that accuracy comes at a huge, huge cost to something else: size.
And here's where that problem becomes crystal clear. See, to keep the shapes right for sailors, the Mercator map has to stretch out the land near the poles. That's why Greenland looks absolutely gigantic. Now, an alternative, the Gal-Peters map, it gets the area right, showing you how countries really stack up in size. But look at the trade-off. The shapes get all warped and strange. It's the fundamental problem, right? You just can't perfectly flatten the sphere without messing something up.
So just how big is that distortion we're talking about? Well, it's massive. In reality, you could fit about 14 Greenlands inside the continent of Africa. I mean, think about that for a second. The map most of us use makes them look almost the same size. It just goes to show you how a simple picture can completely change our perception of the world. And it's not just our maps that are a little off. It's also our idea of Earth being a perfect sphere. The planet's constant spinning creates this force that kind of causes it to bulge out at the equator and flatten down at the poles. The best way to picture it really is like a spinning ball of silly putty. This shape is called an oblate spheroid, and it means you're actually about 21 kilometers farther from the center of the Earth when you're standing at the equator than you are at one of the poles. All right, so now that we've got a better picture of the planet's real shape, let's zoom in on its surface. This is where things get really, really interesting, because the scale of water and life on our world is just as surprising as its shape. Quick question: how many oceans did you learn about in school? 4? Maybe even 3? Well, you might be a little surprised to see 5 listed here. The Southern Ocean, that big body of water surrounding Antarctica, is now officially recognized as the world's 5th ocean.
Now for a statistic about life on land that is truly mind-bending. I want you to think of every single wild land animal with the spine. All the lions, elephants, bears, deer, all of them combined. Okay? You got it? They make up just 5% of the total mass. The other 95%, that's just us, humans, and the animals we raise for food.
But if we're talking about which creatures truly run this planet, at least in terms of sheer variety, it is not us, not even close. The undisputed champions are insects. Scientists have already identified over 1 million different species of them. And to really drive that point home, let's just zoom in on one type of insect: the humble beetle. There are over 400,000 known species. To put that into perspective, that means that roughly 1 out of every 5 known living things on Earth is a beetle.
So where on Earth can you see this incredible variety of life all in one place? Well, the answer is Colombia. Because it has this huge range of ecosystems, from rainforests to mountains, it's home to 1 out of every 10 species on the entire planet. It has more types of birds and orchids than any other country in the world.
Okay, so from all that vibrant life on the surface, we're now going to take a journey deep inside the Earth. Because the ground we stand on, it isn't nearly as solid as it seems. And what's happening way down below our feet is what shapes our entire world. So that feeling of solid ground beneath your feet, it's really an illusion. The Earth's crust is actually a giant jigsaw puzzle of these massive tectonic plates. And these plates are constantly, slowly grinding against each other as they float on this sea of softer, molten rock called the mantle. That constant motion is what creates everything, from the tallest mountains to the most powerful earthquakes. And as we journey deeper, things start to heat up. And they heat up fast. This is known as the geothermal gradient. For every 70 feet you go down into the Earth's crust, the temperature rises by about 1 degree Fahrenheit. It's this constant reminder of the immense heat engine that's just churning away right below us.
So if you follow that gradient all the way down to the very center of the planet, you arrive at this almost unimaginable temperature, 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. I mean, what does a number like that even mean?
Well, it means the center of our planet burns as hot as the surface of the sun. Just let that sink in for a second. We are living on the thin, cool crust of a planet that has a furnace, like a star, raging at its very core.
All right, let's travel back up from that fiery core, past the crust, and look up toward the sky. We're now going to explore the final piece of this puzzle, the incredibly complex atmospheric shield that protects all of us and makes life on Earth possible in the first place.
You see, our atmosphere isn't just one big blanket of air. It's actually 5 distinct layers stacked right on top of each other. We live our lives way down here in the troposphere. But as you go up, you pass through the protective ozone layer, then a shield where meteors burn up, then the orbit of the International Space Station, and finally, you reach the exosphere, where our world just gently fades into the blackness of space. And here is an incredible paradox. We just talked about Earth's core being as hot as the sun, but the coldest natural place on our entire planet isn't at the North or South Pole. It's dozens of miles up, at the very top of the mesosphere, where the temperature drops to a staggering -120 degrees Fahrenheit.
So from flawed maps and a bulging shape to a star-hot core and a layered sky, it really all comes down to perspective, doesn't it? Back in 1990, the Voyager 1 spacecraft turned its camera back towards home from 4 billion miles away. The picture it took prompted the astronomer Carl Sagan to describe our planet with all its wonder and all its complexity with these words, "A mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam." So I'll just leave you with this question: what does seeing our world that way change for you?